The last rays of sunlight illuminated the dust motes swirling above the wreckage of Dahlia Norwood's life, her father's homestead reduced to charred timbers. Her dreams of a thriving horse ranch nothing but ashes beneath her worn boots. It was June 1876, 3 weeks after her 22nd birthday, and everything she'd worked for since her mother's passing lay in ruins before her. "There's nothing left," she whispered, kneeling to touch the scorched earth where her father had taken his last breath defending their home from the Blackwell gang. The neighboring ranchers had buried him 2 days ago while she was still recovering from the blow to her head. Dahlia wiped a tear from her soot-stained cheek and stood, her hazel eyes scanning the horizon of the Wyoming Territory. The land was still hers, 200 acres of prime grazing land with a creek running through it, but without the cabin, the barn, the horses. What did it matter? The bank in Timber Creek would come calling soon enough. "Miss, you shouldn't be out here alone." Dahlia spun around, her hand instinctively reaching for the small derringer hidden in her skirt pocket. A tall man sat atop a chestnut gelding, his face shadowed beneath a wide-brimmed hat. Sunlight caught on the silver star pinned to his vest. "Deputy." She relaxed slightly. "I'm perfectly fine on my own." The man dismounted with the fluid grace of someone who'd spent his life in the saddle. "Name's Finn Landry. Sheriff sent me to check the area, make sure none of Blackwell's men returned." He approached slowly, hands visible. "I'm sorry about your father. He was well respected in town." Dahlia's throat tightened. "Thank you." She turned away, not wanting this stranger to see her vulnerability. "They took everything, the horses, our savings, even burned what they couldn't steal." Deputy Landry surveyed the destruction. "The sheriff's got telegrams out to every territory. We'll catch them. And that will bring my father back, rebuild our home." Bitterness sharpened her words. "No, madam, it won't." His honesty surprised her. "But justice matters, and so does what you do next." Dahlia laughed, a hollow sound carried away by the wind. "What I do next is leave. There's nothing for me here anymore." Finn Landry removed his hat, revealing sandy brown hair and eyes the color of a summer sky. He looked to be around 28, with a face weathered by sun and marked with a thin scar above his right eyebrow. "Before you decide, come back to town. You need rest, food, and time to think clearly." "I've been thinking clearly since I woke up in Doc Simmons' clinic." Dahlia gestured to the bruise darkening her temple. "This land was my father's dream, not mine. Without him," her voice broke. "I can't stay here with these memories." The deputy nodded, understanding in his eyes. "At least let me escort you back to town. It'll be dark soon." Dahlia reluctantly agreed. As they rode double on Landry's horse, she allowed herself one backward glance at the ruins of her childhood home, a strange emptiness settling in her chest where determination had once burned. In town, Widow Jenkins had prepared a room for her above the general store. That night, Dahlia sat by the window watching the lamplights of Timber Creek blink out one by one as she contemplated her options. She had $12 to her name, a silver locket containing her mother's portrait, and the deed to land she could no longer bear to see. A soft knock at her door startled her from her thoughts. "Miss Norwood, it's Finn Landry." Dahlia opened the door, surprised to see the deputy holding a tray with a steaming bowl of stew. "Mrs. Jenkins said you didn't come down for supper." He offered the tray. "Thought you might be hungry." The kindness in the simple gesture nearly undid her. "Thank you," she managed, taking the tray. "Sheriff asked me to let you know we found 2 of your horses about 10 miles east. Blackwell gang must have lost them during their escape." Finn shifted his weight. "They're at the livery stable whenever you're ready to claim them." Hope flickered briefly before reality extinguished it. "2 horses won't rebuild a ranch." "No," Finn agreed, "but it's a start." After he left, Dahlia forced herself to eat, knowing she needed strength for the journey ahead. By morning, she had made her decision. She would sell the land, claim her horses, and head east to Denver where her mother's cousin lived. Perhaps there she could start anew, away from painful memories. When she announced her intentions at the bank the next morning, Mr. Hollister's expression turned grave. "I'm afraid it's not that simple, Miss Norwood. Your father borrowed against the property to purchase those thoroughbreds. Without the horses or structures, the land alone won't cover the debt." The room seemed to tilt beneath her feet. "What are you saying?" I'm saying you'd still owe the bank over $300, even after selling the land. $300 might as well have been $3,000. Dahlia left the bank in a daze, her small world crumbling further around her. Bad news. Deputy Landry appeared beside her on the boardwalk. I can't even leave properly, Dahlia said bitterly. The bank owns everything, including my future, it seems. Finn walked beside her toward the general store. What if you didn't leave? Dahlia stopped. Pardon? What if you rebuilt? His expression was earnest. Your father's land is some of the best grazing territory in the county. The creek never runs dry, even in drought years. And how am I supposed to rebuild with no money and a mountain of debt? Dahlia challenged, one step at a time. Finn gestured across the street where a wagon was being loaded with supplies. I own 40 acres adjoining your property. I've been saving to build a proper house, but my cabin's standing empty now that I've taken this deputy position in town. What are you suggesting, Deputy Landry? You could stay there while rebuilding the main house. The town would help folks respected your father. Dahlia shook her head. I can't accept charity. It's not charity, it's neighbors helping neighbors. Finn's eyes held hers steadily. And I've been wanting to sell those acres to someone who'd put them to good use. Combined with your land, it would make one of the finest ranches in the territory. You've given this thought, Dahlia observed cautiously. Since the moment I pulled you from that burning house, Finn admitted quietly. Dahlia's hand unconsciously touched the bruise on her temple. That was you. I was riding patrol, saw the smoke. He looked away, uncomfortable with her scrutiny. Just doing my job. Something stirred in Dahlia's chest, not hope exactly, but a faint echo of it. I don't know the first thing about rebuilding a house. Fortunately, I do. Finn smiled, the expression transforming his serious face. Before becoming a lawman, I was a carpenter in St. Louis. That evening, Dahlia stood on the porch of Finn's modest cabin, watching the sunset paint the distant mountains gold and crimson. The small structure was sparsely furnished but clean and sturdy, with a corral for the horses and a well-tended vegetable garden. It's not much, Finn said, placing her single bag inside the door, but it's solid. It's more than I had yesterday, Dahlia replied, surprising herself with the realization that she meant it. Over the next few days, word spread through Timber Creek about Dahlia Norwood's decision to stay and rebuild. What followed astonished her. Farmers arrived with wagons of lumber salvaged from old barns. The blacksmith offered nails and hardware at cost. Women brought food and linens. Even Mr. Hollister from the bank arranged a payment plan for her father's debt, with reduced interest. Why are they doing this? Dahlia asked Finn as they watched townspeople unload supplies at her property. Your father helped half these families through hard winters, Finn explained. And folks here understand loss. Most came west leaving graves behind. With each passing day, Dahlia found herself rising with the sun, eager to continue the work. Finn arrived after his deputy shifts, teaching her to measure and cut lumber, to mix mortar, to lay a proper foundation. They worked side by side, her hands blistering then callousing as they rebuilt her home, brick by brick, beam by beam. My father wanted me to marry Richard Thornton, Dahlia confessed one evening as they sat on the cabin porch, exhausted but satisfied with the day's progress. Son of a cattle baron in Cheyenne, father thought it would secure our future. And you didn't want that? Finn asked, passing her a cup of coffee. I wanted to choose my own path. Dahlia sipped the bitter liquid. I wanted to breed horses that would make people take notice, that would be sought after from St. Louis to San Francisco. That's still possible. Finn's voice was soft in the gathering darkness. Your father's mares have bloodlines worth building on. Dahlia studied his profile, wondering when the deputy had become something more than a convenient ally. When had his steady presence become something she looked forward to? When had his rare smile begun to make her heart beat faster? Why are you helping me, Finn? She asked suddenly. Truly. He was quiet for so long she thought he wouldn't answer. I had a sister, he finally said. Emily. After our parents died of typhoid, we tried homesteading in Kansas. A tornado destroyed everything we built. She lost her will to fight, gave up. His voice roughened. I found her one morning, cold in her bed. Doctors said her heart just stopped, but I know it was despair that killed her. Finn turned to meet Dahlia's gaze, vulnerability raw in his eyes. "When I pulled you from that burning house, when I saw you at the ruins of your home, I recognized that same look in your eyes. I couldn't bear to watch another strong spirit break." Dahlia reached across the space between them and took his hand. No words seemed adequate, so she offered the simple comfort of touch instead. By late August, the frame of Dahlia's new house stood on the footprint of the old. Smaller than the original, but sturdier, with large windows to catch the mountain breezes. The barn was nearly complete, ready for the approaching winter. "You've got a gift for this," Dahlia told Finn as he fitted a window frame with precise movements. "Just experience," he replied, though pleasure at her compliment colored his cheeks. "You're the one with vision. This place will be something special when you're done." "When we're done," she corrected, and was rewarded with one of his rare smiles. That night, a sudden storm blew in from the mountains. Rain pounded the cabin roof as lightning split the sky. Dahlia startled awake to the sound of panicked whinnies from the corral. Pulling on her boots and grabbing a lantern, she rushed outside to find the horses frightened by the thunder, pressing against the corral fence. As she moved to calm them, a blinding flash illuminated a figure running toward her. Finn, having ridden from town despite the deluge. "The creek," he shouted over the storm's roar. "It's rising fast." Together they led the horses to higher ground, then raced to move lumber and supplies away from the creek bank. The rain was relentless, soaking them to the skin as they worked. A tremendous crack split the air as lightning struck a tall pine near the cabin. Dahlia watched in horror as the burning tree toppled toward the structure. "No," she screamed, the single word containing all her rebuilding hopes. Finn grabbed her arm, pulling her back as the tree crashed down, miraculously missing the cabin by inches. The burning branches hissed in the rain, steam rising to mingle with smoke. They stood transfixed, rain streaming down their faces, the near disaster making their hearts pound. "It missed," Finn breathed, his arm still around her waist. Dahlia turned in his embrace, overcome with relief and something deeper that had been growing between them for weeks. Their eyes met in the flickering light of the fallen, smoldering tree. Finn, whatever she meant to say was lost as his lips found hers, tentative at first, then with growing certainty as she responded. The storm raged around them, but in that moment, Dahlia found an unexpected shelter. When they finally broke apart, breathless and trembling from more than cold, Finn rested his forehead against hers. "I've wanted to do that since the first time I saw you smile," he confessed. Dahlia touched his face, feeling the rough stubble beneath her fingertips. "I was beginning to wonder if you ever would." They weathered the rest of the storm in the cabin, talking until dawn as the rain gentled to a soft patter. Dahlia spoke of her childhood dreams, of her mother's death when she was 14, of the years helping her father build a ranch only to watch it burn. Finn shared stories of his time as a carpenter, of joining a marshal's posse after outlaws murdered a friend, of finding purpose in a lawman's badge. As September painted the aspen groves gold, rumors reached Timber Creek of the Blackwell gang operating near Laramie. Sheriff Timmons organized a posse, and despite Dahlia's fears, Finn rode out with them. "I'll be back in a week," he promised, kissing her beneath the newly raised rafters of her house. "You'd better be," she replied, hiding her worry behind a brave smile. "These windows won't hang themselves." The week stretched into 2, then 3. Dahlia threw herself into work, refusing to acknowledge the growing fear that Finn might never return. She hired 2 local boys to help with the remaining construction, paying them with meals and promises of future wages when the ranch turned profitable. Each evening, she stood on the rise behind the new house, watching the trail from town, waiting for a rider who didn't appear. On the first day of October, Dahlia was shingling the roof when hoofbeats approached. Heart leaping, she turned to see not Finn, but Sheriff Timmons riding slowly toward the house. Her hands froze on the hammer. The sheriff's grim expression told her everything before he spoke a word. "Miss Norwood," he began, removing his hat, "I'm afraid I have news about Deputy Landry." Dahlia descended the ladder with wooden movements, her mind already building walls against the pain she knew was coming. There was a shootout in a canyon north of Laramie, the sheriff continued. Finn took a bullet meant for one of our men. Is he dead? The question was barely audible. No, madam, but it's bad. Doctor in Laramie removed the bullet, but fever set in. They're bringing him home tomorrow if— He hesitated. If he makes it through the night. Dahlia nodded mechanically. Thank you for telling me. After the sheriff left, she returned to her task, hammering shingles with methodical precision as tears blurred her vision. The sun set, but she worked by lantern light until every shingle was in place. Only then did she allow herself to collapse, sobbing until her throat was raw. By dawn, Dahlia had made her decision. She saddled her strongest mare and rode for Laramie, pushing the horse as fast as she dared across the rugged terrain. The journey that normally took 2 days she made in one, arriving as twilight settled over the town. The doctor's house was easy to find, its windows glowing warmly at the end of the main street. When Dahlia knocked, a weary-faced woman answered. I'm looking for Deputy Finn Landry, Dahlia said, her voice steadier than she felt. The woman's expression softened. You must be Dahlia. He's been calling for you. She led Dahlia to a back room where Finn lay pale and still, a bandage wrapped around his chest. His breathing was labored, his skin flushed with fever. The posse was planning to transport him tomorrow, but I don't think he's strong enough, the doctor's wife explained. The bullet nicked his lung. Dahlia took Finn's hand, alarmed by the heat radiating from his skin. I'm here, Finn, she whispered. I'm right here. Through the night, she bathed his forehead with cool cloths, speaking softly of the house they'd built together, of the horses they would breed, of the life waiting for him if he would only fight a little longer. Near dawn, his fever broke. When Finn opened his eyes to find Dahlia beside him, the joy that illuminated his face gave her the first real hope that he might survive. You came, he murmured, his voice a weak shadow of itself. Of course I came. Dahlia blinked back tears. Someone has to make sure those windows get hung properly. A ghost of his smile touched his lips before he drifted back to sleep, his breathing easier than before. It was 2 more weeks before the doctor deemed Finn strong enough to travel. They made the journey to Timber Creek slowly, stopping frequently to rest. When they finally crested the hill overlooking Dahlia's ranch, Finn asked the wagon driver to halt. Below them, the new house stood complete, smoke curling from its chimney. The barn doors were open, revealing stalls filled with horses. Near the corral, 2 men were constructing what appeared to be a bunkhouse. How? Finn asked, turning to Dahlia in amazement. The same way we started, 1 step at a time, she smiled. Sheriff Timmons organized work parties while I was in Laramie, said it was the least they could do for a wounded deputy, and the woman stubborn enough to love him. Finn's eyes widened at her words. Dahlia. I realized something when I thought I might lose you, she said softly. Dreams can be rebuilt, Finn, but some things once lost can never be replaced. As winter settled over Wyoming territory, Dahlia and Finn were married in the parlor of their newly completed home. Sheriff Timmons stood as witness, along with half the town of Timber Creek. I never thought I'd find joy in these ashes, Dahlia told Finn that night as they stood on their porch, watching snow dust the corral where their growing herd of horses huddled together for warmth. Not ashes anymore, Finn replied, his arm strong around her waist, his wound finally healing. New foundations. Spring brought new life to the Norwood Landry ranch. Green grass covered the last visible scars of the fire. Finn resigned his deputy position to work full-time alongside Dahlia, his carpentry skills now focused on crafting furniture for their home and expanding the stables. Their first foal was born in April, a leggy colt with the distinctive markings of his thoroughbred lineage. Dahlia named him Phoenix, a symbol of their rebirth from destruction. Word began to spread about the quality of their horses. By summer, buyers were making the journey from as far as Denver to see the stock. Dahlia's dream of renowned breeding lines was becoming reality, one careful pairing at a time. On the anniversary of her father's death, Dahlia stood at his grave in the small cemetery outside Timber Creek. Finn waited respectfully at a distance, giving her privacy for her grief. You were right about this land, Pa, she said softly, placing wildflowers on the simple marker. It was worth fighting for, worth rebuilding, just not in the way you imagined. She felt Finn's approach before she heard him, a presence that had become as necessary to her as breathing. "He would be proud of you," Finn said, taking her hand. "I hope so." Dahlia leaned against his shoulder. "I've been thinking about the 40 acres on the north side." "What about them?" "The soil there is perfect for wheat, and that maple grove would make fine furniture wood." Finn chuckled, the sound vibrating through her. "Always planning the next expansion. It's good to have dreams again." Dahlia turned to face him, "especially ones we share." As they rode home, Dahlia reined her mare to a stop at the rise overlooking their ranch. The afternoon sun gilded the buildings they had raised together: the house, the barn, the bunkhouse now home to 3 ranch hands. In the distance, their horses grazed peacefully on land that had nearly been lost. "What is it?" Finn asked, stopping beside her. Dahlia took his hand, placing it gently over her stomach where their child had just begun to grow. "I was thinking our family might need more room soon." The wonder that spread across Finn's face was everything she had once thought impossible to feel again: joy, hope, and a future bright with promise. "I love you, Dahlia Norwood Landry," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "And I love you, Finn Landry," she replied, "for helping me believe again when everything seemed lost." They rode down the hill together toward the home they had built, brick by brick, dream by dream, their shadows stretching long across land that had witnessed both their deepest sorrows and greatest joys, a testament to what could rise from ashes when 2 hearts refused to surrender to despair.